Hey learners, welcome to English with Amen. Are you confused about all those literary periods like Old English, Romanticism, or the Victorian Age? Don't worry, today I will make it super easy for you. We will take a fun and simple journey through time to understand the major English literary periods. Let's unlock the world of English literature one era at a time. Let's begin. Let's now look at the main English literary periods one by one in simple words. Old English period 450 to 1066. This period is called the Anglo-Saxon period. It began when Germanic tribes came to England. The language was very different from modern English. The most famous work is Beowulf, a long heroic poem. People during this time told stories about bravery, war, and religion. Most writings were about heroes and the Christian faith. Middle English period 1066 to 1500. This started after the Norman conquest of England. The French language influenced English during this time. The most famous writer is Chaucer, who wrote the Canterbury Tales. Stories were now written about everyday life, love, religion, and society. Language became easier to understand but still very different from today's English. The Renaissance 1500 to 1660. It was a time of a rebirth in art, science, and literature. People focused more on humans and life rather than just religion. There are four forts in this period. Early Tudor 1500 to 1558. Writers started using English for poetry and learning. For example, Sir Thomas More wrote Utopia. Elizabethan age 1558 to 1603. Queen Elizabeth I ruled. This was the time of William Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, and Edmund Spenser. Shakespeare wrote plays and sonnets that are still famous today. Jacobean age 1603 to 1625. King James I ruled. Writers like John Donne and Ben Jonson wrote about life, death, and love. King James Bible was also published in this time. Caroline age 1625 to 1649. King Charles I ruled. Writers Robert Herrick and Richard Lovelace wrote poems about love and honor. The Commonwealth period 1649 to 1616. This was the time when England had no king. Oliver Cromwell led the country. Literature was serious and religious. John Milton wrote his epic poem Paradise Lost, which talks about God, Satan, and the fall of man. Theatre was closed during this time. The Restoration period 1660 to 1700. The monarchy came back with King Charles II. Theatres opened again. Literature became funny, clever, and focused on society. Comedy of manners was popular. These plays made fun of rich people's lives. Famous writers John Dryden and Aphra Behn, one of the first women writers. The 18th hundred, the century 1700 to 1798. This time is also called the Augustan Age or Neoclassical period. Writers wanted to copy the style of ancient Rome and Greece. They wrote about reason, order, and roles. There are two main forms: the age of Pope, 1700 to 1744. Alexander Pope wrote poetry using clever lines and strong meaning. He used humor to show problems in society. The Augustan age of Johnson, 1744 to 1798. Samuel Johnson wrote essays and the first big English dictionary. Jonathan Swift wrote Gulliver's Travels, a funny story with hidden meanings. This age was also the beginning of the novel, long fictional stories. The Romantic period, 1798 to 1837. This was a time of strong emotions, imagination, and love of nature. Writers reacted against the strict rules of earlier times. They wrote from the heart. Famous poets are of this age: William Wordsworth, Samuel Taylor, Coleridge, Lord Byron, Percy Bysshe Shelley, John Keats. These poets wrote about beauty, feelings, dreams, and common men. Mary Shelley, wife of Percy, wrote Frankenstein, a famous Gothic novel. The Victorian period, from 1837 to 1901, this period was named after Queen Victoria. England was growing fast in science, industry, and empire. Writers started showing problems in society like poverty and child labor. Famous novelists are Charles Dickens, Oliver Twist, Great Expectations, Charlotte Bronte, Jane Eyre, Emily Bronte, Wuthering Heights, Thomas Hardy, Tales of the Orwells, George Eliot, Middlemarch. Poets like Alfred Lord Tennyson and Robert Browning were also popular. Literature had a moral purpose and showed the struggles of real life. The Edwardian period, from 1901 to 1914, named after King Edward VII. This was a short time but very important. Writers focused on social issues and wanted change. Life was easy for rich people but hard for the poor. Famous writers of that age are E. M. Forster, A Passage to India, H. G. Wells, The Time Machine, Rudyard Kipling, The Jungle Book, Joseph Conrad, Heart of Darkness. This was the time just before World War I. The modern period, from 1914 to 1945. After World War I, writers felt the world was broken. Old traditions no longer made sense, so they started writing in new and different ways. This was called Modernism and Modernism. Famous modern writers are T.S. Eliot, The West Land, Virginia Woolf, Mrs. Dalloway, James Joyce, Ulysses, D.H. Lawrence, Saints and Lovers, George Orwell's Animal Farm, 1984. They used a stream of consciousness, writing thoughts as they come. Their writing was complex, deep, and full of emotions. The postmodern period, from 1945 to present. After World War II, the world changed again. People began to question everything truth, identity, and history. Postmodern writers often mix fantasy with the real life, differing the usual rules of writing. Famous postmodern writers are Samuel Beckett, Waiting for Godot, Salman Rushdie, Midnight's Children, Jeanette Winterson, Julian Barnes, Zadie Smith. These writers talk about race, gender, power, and culture. They play with words and structure in new ways. English literature is now global and diverse. That's it, friends. We have traveled from Beowulf to Zadie Smith all in one video. I hope now you understand English literary periods in a simple and funny way. If you enjoyed this, like, share, and subscribe to English with Amen. See you in the next video. Keep learning, keep shining.